The last story here, we've talked about 2 indie games on each of our topics. Jordan, hit us with your mid-year indie hype
Yes, so that's
discussion.
exactly what we're doing today. I think it might have been our second episode that we ever did, but it was very early. We had kind of a GDC-focused episode and broke down a lot of the indies, what would be upcoming, what had just come out. And so I wanted to do, like you said, kind of a mid-year indie update. So
A lot of those same indies still haven't come out
very,
yet.
very true.
Yeah.
I basically just made a list of games that have come out this year and are supposed to come out soon. Of course, there's going to be some that I missed on the list, some that I couldn't remember, games that I could remember but I couldn't remember the title of, so you'll have to forgive me there. Of course, you guys can add anything that you think of. So first, I thought we'd just go through and I'll bullet point list some of the what seemed like the best, not necessarily my favorite, having played all of these, but what seemed like the best indie games of this year. And feel free to chime in if you have any thoughts. First up is Hyper Light Drifter. Obviously, I've been talking about that a lot. I think it has its issues that keep it from being an amazing or incredible game, but it is still great nonetheless. Totally worth checking out. Fury, which was free on PlayStation Plus in June, and is a kind of a boss rush Afro Samurai hack and slash type game with a really cool color palette and music. Like I said, very big Afro Samurai vibes. If you're a fan of that comic or anime, you'll definitely dig this. Of course, we have Alienation, which is the spiritual successor from Housemarque to Dead Nation. And this is a really great arcade game. Once again, it has its flaws. I wouldn't say it's an exceptional or immaculate game if you're basing it on our scale here at Controlled Interest, but I would say that it has a lot of great things going for it, a lot of great arcadey, fast-paced gameplay, which I am always down for, and it has a dash button, which, if your game has a dash button, you're probably on my good list. Then Stories Path of Destinies, that is a game I got a review code for, but I really haven't played much of. It came out right around Quantum Break and Uncharted 4 and Ratchet and Clank, so there was a lot of stuff right around that time. One game I want to give a special shout out for is Moon Hunters. That is a 16-bit-ish kind of RPG on PS4 and Vita. That is a personality test RPG, is the way it was described in the trailer. And so it's really interesting. It's all about social interactions with the characters. It's not online, it's social interactions with the characters in the world and how you are able to solve complex problems and get along with people and move about the world. And it focuses on your social connections. So shout out to that game. I'll probably be playing that later on this year. I Am Setsuna, I Am Setsuna, if we were in Japan. And that is a game that is heavily inspired by classic JRPGs, which I have been getting into a lot recently. It got some middling reviews, but it definitely seems like people are positive on it, so I'll be playing that once it drops a little from its $40 price point.
So I'm glad you bring that one up too. So I talked a few months ago that I really wanted to try
Yes.
Chrono Trigger was a game I never played, which is probably what I Am Setsuna
Sure.
is most inspired by. So it's Chrono Trigger is I think $10 on the Vita on the PSN. So I don't know. I'm like it's old. But it's supposed to be one of the greatest games of all time, according to a lot of people. So I'm like, maybe I should give this a shot. And then also, different genre, but Castlevania Symphony of the Night is also one game that I never played, really due to age. I never played any games from that era, right? Because when you're a kid and once you're at like Nintendo 64, you don't really want to go back. It's just not.
Plus, those aren't the games you're thinking about when you're that young. You're thinking of the Marios and the Zeldas, not the JRPGs or
Right. So yeah, for Castlevania, also really cheap on the PSN. So I might pick those up soon.
I would definitely recommend both of those. A lot of people complain about the PS1 port of Chrono Trigger compared to the SNES version because it had like loading times in between, like when you were trying to press pause and go to the menu. I played it for several hours, and that really didn't affect me, so I would say you're good to go on that PS1 version.
So we're still going through games that were
Right,
released
yeah.
the first
So
time, right?
then just a couple more. We've got Abzu and Bound, which both just came out recently on PlayStation, and they are very much kind of ethereal, emotional experiences, less so than like a combat action game. Then we have Broforce, which is a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, which is like kind of a big ode to the '80s and '80s movie stars, action movie stars. Then we have Salt and Sanctuary, which is a Dark Souls-esque game, side-scrolling with action
Coming to
combat.
Vita.
Coming to Vita. I didn't even know about that. So I will.
Supposed to. We'll see when that happens.
Okay.
I already had
Eventually.
Bloodborne in my library, and when Salt and Sanctuary came out, I was just like, yeah, I'll probably wait on that when it's cheaper or whatever. Now that it's coming to Vita, that sounds like a perfect time to play it. And then last but not least, like I said, I'm sure I forgot plenty of games that came out this year. But a lot of people were really high on The Witness earlier on. I don't think any of us played that, but
Oh yeah.
that's probably a game I will play down the road once it's cheaper and when I'm in the mindset for a puzzle game like that.
You forgot my game of the year.
Inside. Now, the reason I didn't mention that is because I'm putting it in my upcoming list since it's,
Technically coming to
since
PS4 for
really
you,
the
so
only
it's
console
upcoming.
that matters is its upcoming release.
Shout out to the worst indie game I played.
Oh
all year,
yeah, Tumblestone, free on Games with Gold. I think still free
Last month.
because
Yeah,
Xbox does
it
like
is
that extension
so
thing.
bad. Yeah, it is so bad. Yeah, I want to hear
So-
what's coming out the rest of the year. We're getting close to the
This-
wrap up, so let's hear these
These
awesome games.
is a longer list, so I will give a little bit less information about these. Pyre, which is the latest game from Supergiant Games, who I just talked about Bastion being one of my favorite Vita games, and of course they also did Transistor, so this will be their third game. It's kind of like a sports type thing where you're playing ball. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Very excited for that. Absolver coming from Devolver Digital, which is like a melee combat online game. The online multiplayer part definitely turns me off a little bit, but still excited for it nonetheless. Has a really cool aesthetic and really cool character designs. Mother Russia Bleeds, which is a beat 'em up side-scrolling that is an ode to 90s beat 'em ups. Looks really hardcore and really bloody and fun. Ronin, which is a samurai ninja game. If you got one of those coming at me, then I am definitely putting it at the top of my list. And it's similar to N Plus or N Plus Plus, if you guys have played that, where you're kind of moving and then stopping and then choosing your direction and figuring out where you want to go next, and then making that move and then stopping again and making another move. Then we have Vampire from Don't Nod. Jared is, of course, a fan of Life is Strange, which is Don't Nod's last game before Remember Me, or Remember Me was before that. And then Vampire is their next one. It is a looking like a AAA third-person action-adventure game where you play as a vampire in London. Dom, I know you're playing AC Syndicate right now. Very much some Bloodborne, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Victorian London vibes coming from this one. Probably
I like it.
Probably
I like the
next
sound of
year,
that.
maybe even 2018 for that one. But we are looking ahead here.
Don't so much like the sound of that.
So Cosmic Star Heroine is something that I just found online. A lot of these awesome indie games that are coming out are 16-bit, and they're like JRPGs that are really kind of an ode to classic 90s stuff. So I decided to just put that on here because it looks cool. Of course, Inside, we just mentioned that earlier. Origami, which is kind of similar to Fury. You are a kind of a shadow ninja warrior, and you literally jump from shadow to assassinate these guys in 3D spaces. So almost kind of like if you took the Metal Gear VR missions and turned it into, instead of Raiden, a cyborg ninja, if you turned it into a shadow ninja who feeds off of shadow power, and you jump from shadow to shadow and assassinate people. Looks really fucking cool with a dope aesthetic. Perception, which is a former Bioshock developer, and it's about a girl in a haunted mansion who is wandering around, I should say a blind girl, who is wandering around using echolocation to discover her environment. Looks very cool. Iconoclasts, which is another one of these 16-bit games. It's a side-scrolling RPG, which looks a lot like I was saying, another odes to classic role-playing games. Don't know much about this, but I think it's another one of those, like you were talking about, Jared, a game made by one person that looks to be taking quite a long time, but it looks like it's going to be worth the wait. Pray for the Gods, we just got a trailer for that. It's seems like kind of a tribute to Shadow of the Colossus, where you're like climbing on these giant bosses, and you have to like climb around their body to defeat them.
I've gotten a lot of targeted ads on Facebook.
So Jared will be updating us on that since he's not going to be able to forget about it.
Damn cookies.
Then Death's Gamut, which is an Adult Swim game. A lot of Dark Souls vibe. It is another one of these 16-bit side-scrollers. Looks a lot like Hyper Light Drifter, with some crazy-ass bosses. Looks like it's going to give you quite a challenge, as well as a lot of fun, because it looks like some fast-paced combat, which you know I'm down for. Next up, Jared has already highlighted this game in his Indie Hype video on our YouTube channel, and that is Katana Zero. Another fast-paced samurai game. Like I said, if you got a samurai indie game, man, Mark of the Ninja, N++, whatever, dude, I'm down. If you want more information on that, definitely check out Jared's video on our YouTube. Next is Manifold Garden, which is like an MC Escher like puzzle game that's all about changing the perspective of things, like, you know, stairs going into stairs and crap like that. Below, which is, I think, definitely one of Jared and I's most anticipated indie games. Capybara Games, indeed.
Yep.
From Down Under. Well, they may not.
Down Under.
Yeah.
Put another shrimp on the barbie.
That game looks like it's going to be... So, essentially what Inside does in the 2D side-scroller space, I think this game is going to do it in the top-down perspective. If you kind of know what I'm getting at there. Super excited for this game.
It's one of those games that's like, alright, it's about time for you guys to release this. If you mix up Zelda, Dark Souls, and Hyper Light Drifter, I think this is what comes out. So, if that sounds interesting to you. Cuphead, which is a side-scrolling platformer now. It changed to be a platformer now. It was just boss battles, but has a kind of a Steamboat Willie, like 1940s, 1950s cartoon aesthetic. Looks gorgeous. We Happy Few, which we've talked a lot about on this show. We Happy Few has kind of a Bioshock vibe to it. It's all about this weird fake British town where everyone takes this pill called Joy to keep them from experiencing the depths of depression, which they would obviously experience if they were to stop taking this drug and look around at all the fucked up shit going on in their town. So,
definitely a Giver 1984 dystopian vibe. I actually got the
preview,
the game preview, but I haven't played it because I
was teetering on that.
So
I was considering that too.
I just got it early, so that way it's downloaded when the actual game comes out next
dope.
year, and I don't have to worry about it. But I haven't even touched it.
So running through the last few here, Gang Beasts. That one just kind of looks cool. It's a goofy co-op game where you fight your buddies, but it's like your characters are real.
Well, it's still in early access, right? So
yes, exactly. And your characters are really like floppy, and it's like kind of hard to control. So it's like a really goofy fighting game. Tacoma, which is from Fulbright. They are the makers of Gone Home, so they obviously have a breed of good storytelling. Steve Gaynor, the head of that studio, originally came from doing the Minerva's Den DLC on Bioshock 2, so I fully trust that they're going to have an awesome story here.
Isn't there some kind of weird timed exclusivity with this? Isn't it coming first
It
to Xbox
might be.
or something?
You might be correct about that.
Yeah, there's something with that. I don't know if that's correct, but there's
That,
some
I
weird
was looking on
exclusivity
YouTube
with
and their
it.
trailer was uploaded on the Xbox channel, which might indicate something like that as well.
Yeah.
So we have three
is that
more really quick ones. Hellblade. I've talked about this game a bunch on the show. How excited I am.
Go check out the
Yes,
developer
Ninja
diary
Theory
on YouTube.
is going
It's awesome.
super in depth with each step of the development of this game, and making it like a AAA indie title. It's really cool how they're doing this. I'll leave the details to them. Go check it out. This is looking like an awesome action adventure game. And then the last two, Rhyme. It would kind of in development hell right now because it was probably going to be a Sony exclusive, and then we found out that Sony ended up taking back the dev kits from the developer. Tango Gameworks is Evil Within, something like that. It's like
Tango. Tango and Cash.
Limeworks, something like that. I don't know. Anyways, they are doing a game with GameStop under the Game Trust publisher arm, so they're not totally dead in the water. We'll see how that goes, and maybe Rhyme will come out eventually. And then, last but not least, is Desync. This is kind of like a Doom-esque game in a very neon, kind of Tron-esque digital world. So yeah, if you kind of imagine like Tron and Doom being mixed up, like some Far Cry Blood Dragon type stuff, that is Desync. So some of these games I don't know a ton about, but maybe just their aesthetic or the gameplay clips that I've seen have got me really excited. So like I said, I'm sure there's a few I've missed, but those are the indie games that I'm excited for. And that is your Controlled Interest indie mid-year update.
So I got a couple actually. One is Clank, which is the rhythm 2D platformer that I saw at GDC. It's red and blue aesthetic. It's Tron meets rhythm games. Just Google it if you guys want to. It's KLANG. Looks like a great game being developed by one person. The other game here that I forgot to mention for the games that have been released, it actually came out a couple of days ago. Overcooked, which is an indie game where you cook things. If you like Diner Dash or...
Dom's not having it.
What?
The premise of it, I'm not into.
The game's fun. It's a multiplayer game too, so you probably don't want to play it
because it's an indie game.
Why play with other people?
Dom's too indie for indie, bro.
Indie multiplayer. It's a really cool game. It's really fun. If you like Diner Dash or the Lick-a-Tongue mini game in Pokemon
Wow, I do not, but that is a fucking throwback, Jared.
Yeah, you'll love this game. It's really cool, really fun. It's just a really good time. Also, I have a couple of games listed here that I don't remember what they are, but I have them listed as games I'm looking forward to. This one comes out on the 21st of this month. It comes to PS4 and Vita called Alone With You. I don't remember what it's about, but I wrote it down, so apparently it looked interesting at the time. And this other one, I believe, is a zombie-esque game coming to PC on the 23rd called The Other 99, which I thought was a really cool title for a game. I don't remember what they're about, but I have them written down as games I'm looking forward to. Also, I have Adrift on here, which I don't know if that's considered technically
it is
indie game. And because No Man's Sky technically is an indie game, right? Because it's getting published by Sony.
That's a tough one. You'll have to come back to me on that.
Speaking of that, either you guys picking that up?
It's going to be probably later on this month or September before I do at the earliest. It's
a sale game for me, not a day one. I'm still interested. I have my expectations are where they should be, not this crazy end all be all. So that's it for that. Really quick, let's get into what we've been playing before we close out the show. Or what we're going to be playing, rather. I'm going to be playing more Spelunky. Hopefully I can get through that game. Like I said, I haven't even beat the game yet. I haven't even gotten the second
Good luck.
Shortcut. I need it. A game's super fun. That other weird Dynasty Warriors game that came out for Games with Gold, I'm going to try that. It doesn't
Warriors
look like
Orochi 3.
I'm going to give it the good 15, as Marty Sleva said on PS I Love You. I'm going to give it the good 15. See if I like it or not. And I don't know what else. We'll see. I don't want to make any guarantees, but definitely more Spelunky is in my future.
You going to see Suicide Squad this weekend?
What about you guys? More than likely. It's not a definitive, but more than likely I am, yeah.
Same here.
What about you guys? What are you guys going to be playing?
I'm going to be jumping into some more AC Syndicate. Keep on chipping away at Big Ben in London. And then whatever I decide to do next on Vita, I'm gonna leave it up in the air. I'm gonna browse the PSN for a few minutes. So
interested to see what you find.
Indeed. So for me, I am just here in less than an hour about to go see Suicide Squad. Pretty excited about that. As you know, I'm a DC comic dude, so that is exciting, even though we're definitely at a shaky place in the DC cinematic universe right now. So hopefully in a couple of years I'll be in a more positive state of mind when going into these DC movies, but BVS didn't really do it for me, and neither did the Ultimate Cut. So there's that. Definitely playing more Bloodborne this week. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, I finished Star Wars Dark Disciple. That was a very, very good Star Wars book. Definitely by far the best thing I've read in the new expanded universe. As far as novels, there's great comics, but novels. Great ending. Love the characters. So now I have just started on Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy. Book 1 being Heir to the Empire, which is, of course, old canon, but these are some of the most revered books in the old EU, so I had to check them out. And, of course, we did just get the trailer for Star Wars Rebels Season 3, which featured Thrawn, which means that he's one of the first major characters being brought back into Star Wars from the old EU into the new expanded universe. And he's going to be getting his own novel, also by Timothy Zahn, who, knows him best, later on this fall. So I'll come back and give you some details on the enemy Thrawn.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching or listening, whether you're checking us out on iTunes or on YouTube as this goes out. Definitely give us a share and a like and all that stuff. Follow us on Twitter to be updated on all of our new content, and it just helps you keep up to date with all of us. Our individual Twitters too, they'll be in the description if you want to check that out. If you want to see our individual opinions on a day-to-day basis. Check us out on iTunes. Give us a follow. Give us a rating, preferably not a 1-star like Dom said last week.
We're not a 1-star podcast.
Also, follow us or subscribe or whatever it's called on Google Play. That helps as well. And subscribe on YouTube too. We're slowly growing. We got another subscriber on YouTube.
Yes.
Which is cool. And definitely check me out on the OK Beast podcast. I'm going to be actually recording after we finish recording this. I'm going to be recording with Blessing, and that should be up. I'll tweet about it sometime next week when it pops up or whenever he puts it up. So excited for that. Any closing words, guys?
YouTube. Yes, YouTube. I was gonna mention YouTube.
No, I was gonna say youtube.com/controlled interest. That's it, right?
No, we don't have that
but
yet.
Once we get to 100 subs, we will be. So You should help us get there by subscribing to the channel. Like Jared said, we've moved past 20 subscribers. Our next goal is, of course, 50. And from there, we'll hopefully get to 100 and get our own URL. I
call that a Dom way.
Yes, a Dom way.
That was a good Dom way.
I will also be guesting on a podcast called A Link to Our Pasts with a fellow kind of funny best friend, John Bernardo. And that podcast is really cool because we basically talk about our gaming history and how we became such fervent gamers. So that's something I really enjoy talking about. Can't wait to have that conversation. And my final word, may the Force be with us all.
Dom, any closing thoughts? All right, catch you guys next time for episode 24. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.